This Is Us is the show that gives us all the feels. Alternatively heartwarming and heartbreaking, this series is the story of the ever-expanding Pearson family. Over 3 seasons, we've learned more and more about them, from how parents Jack and Rebecca met and fell in love decades ago, to the pursuit of adult triplets Kevin, Kate, and Randall in the present day, to flash forwards into the future of Randall and his daughter. By going deep with the Pearsons, we've witnessed the family evolve and grow over generations, and through it all, we've laughed and cried with the clan as they've experienced amazing triumphs and devastating losses. Yet, not everything makes sense in the world of This Is Us. While we accept many things about the Pearson story on a weekly basis, there are some things that we really should question. Let's take a look at some of the head-scratching elements of This Is Us that we routinely overlook, but probably shouldn't. Let's start things off with something you probably noticed at first, but have since gotten used to. The makeup used to age characters isn't at all convincing. Since the characters who wear it the most are Rebecca and Miguel, we'll focus on them. In the storyline, Rebecca would be in her late 60s and Miguel would be in his 70s. In reality though, the actors who portray these characters, Mandy Moore and John Huertas, are decades younger. In fact, Mandy Moore is the youngest adult cast member of the actors playing in the immediate Pearson family. Instead of using makeup to subtly age the pair, the show relies more on symbols we might associate with older age. Frumpier clothing, glasses, slightly less lustrous skin, shorter hair, but let's be serious. If most of us looked like these two in our 60s and 70s, we'd be thrilled. Next on our list, the mystery Randall and Beth's pristine finances. When we first meet the couple, it's clear the pair are well off. They live in a large house, in a nice neighborhood, full of posh furniture and fancy art, while raising 2 daughters. There's no hint that they've ever had to make financial compromises to make it work. In season 1, this made sense. Randall had a lucrative job, and so did Beth. It made sense that they didn't have any money concerns. Then Randall quit his job, and the couple decided to go through the lengthy and expensive process of adopting a 3rd child, and bought Randall's biological father's apartment building in Philadelphia. It seems like this might stretch the finances, but still, money never came up. By season 3, Beth has lost her job, and Randall decides to run for city council in Philly, far away from their home in New Jersey. With no money coming in, 3 kids to support, and a political campaign to get off the ground, it's become less and less believable that money wouldn't become a major source of tension for the couple. While we're on the subject, let's dive into Randall's political aspirations further. In season 3, Randall decides to run for city council after he realizes that the streetlights outside of the apartment building he bought haven't had their burnt-out light bulbs replaced in years. Despite numerous requests to the existing city council member, this simple task still hasn't been completed. Seeing this injustice, Randall springs into action, and despite showing absolutely no political ambitions before, he decides the best way to help the neighborhood is to become the new city council member. There are many things that are strange about Randall's sudden dedication to his new goal. First of all, he and Beth just adopted Deja. This would be a period of adjustment for the whole family. But instead of being there to go through the transition with them though, Randall prioritizes his campaign. This is also true of his obligations as the new landlord of the Philly apartment building. Plus, when Beth has a hard time after losing her job, Randall isn't there to support her even though she's always been there to support him. Not to mention, Randall promised Beth that if the campaign becomes too much, she could say the word and he'd let it go. But when the time came for Randall to make good on that promise, he refuses. The storyline is based on Randall's desire to make a positive change in the world. Why does it have to happen at the expense of his family? Kevin decides he wants more. He wants to be taken seriously as an actor, and the Manny isn't going to get him there. Instead of working out the issue like a professional though, Kevin has a meltdown on set and is quickly let go. His behavior is the sort of thing that could get an actor, especially one with limited range and talent, sidelined for years. But Kevin never struggles. He moves to New York and quickly lands a role in a Broadway play. Then he skips his opening night to help his brother Randall. It's a sweet moment for the brothers, but not so much for the actors who were left calling for his absent character from the stage. Despite that, Kevin gets a do-over at opening night, and this time, Ron Howard is somehow in the audience. Howard immediately decides that Kevin must be part of his awards-bait Vietnam War movie. Somehow, no matter how much he screws up, Kevin just keeps winning. We should all be so lucky. While Kevin seems to be improbably lucky in life, there's one thing that hasn't always worked out so well: his relationship with his brother. Early in the series, it became clear that Kevin and Randall never got along that well, and that a lot of the tension came from Kevin's side of the relationship. Kevin was never especially nice to his brother, despite Randall's efforts to connect with him. Their issues continue into adulthood, culminating with some silly fisticuffs in the middle of New York City and Kevin finally acknowledging that Randall's his brother. After that, things improve between them. Despite what we've been told about the brothers spending most of their lives at odds, though, there's evidence that they've been there for each other more than the show cares to admit. Kevin is on good terms with Randall's wife and kids, and at one point Beth even acknowledges how good Kevin is with her daughters. That means that despite being on opposite sides of the country for a lot of their adult lives, Kevin and Randall have seen each other consistently. We also know that when Randall decided he wanted to date Beth, Kevin served as his own personal Serrano in his efforts to woo her. Why would Kevin waste his time helping Randall if he didn't care about him? Ultimately, we're glad the show seems to have given up on keeping the brothers divided. Now, let's examine the way Randall becomes a part of the family in the first place. In the show's pilot, we're told that Rebecca and Jack were expecting triplets. When the big day comes and Rebecca goes into labor, only Kate and Kevin survive. Baby number 3 dies, devastating Jack and Rebecca. Jack quickly comes up with a solution to their grief though. A firefighter drops off an abandoned baby at the hospital. He needs a family, and Jack and Rebecca now have a whole extra set of baby stuff that they aren't using. Clearly, it's a sign they should adopt the baby. Or should they? The couple are dealing with both the elation of having 2 new babies and the heartbreak of losing one more. Is this the time to make huge life decisions? Jack is convinced it is, and Rebecca eventually gets on board. But even then, they initially seem to be using Randall to replace the child they lost. They give Randall the name of their dead baby, and he gets all the stuff that would have been his. It isn't until their much wiser doctor points out that they should view Randall as his own individual when Jack and Rebecca finally start to see him as something other than a replacement baby. Not exactly an illustrious beginning to the parent-child relationship. Now that we've taken a good hard look at This Is Us' treatment of Kevin and Randall, let's spend some time considering Sister Kate, whose storyline has rarely revolved around anything besides her weight. While her brothers have lofty career goals that they consistently meet even when it's totally improbable, Kate's career ambitions take a backseat to her issues with her own obesity. Sure, Kate wanted to be a singer and was hoping to go to Berklee School of Music, but between living in her mother's shadow and the death of her father, Kate shuts down. So during her young adulthood, it seems Kate made very little effort to do much with her life. Now, in her mid-30s when the show starts, Kate still wants to be a singer, but what she really wants is to lose weight. It's undeniable that many people struggle with their own weight, and it's good to see a character with a less than perfect body on a popular TV show for once. But heavy people are multidimensional too, so making Kate's story all about her weight feels like a lost opportunity. In Season 3, Kate turns her attention to having a baby and used IVF to get pregnant, yet everyone involved was doubtful of her plans. Why? Her weight. Kate deserves better. More than one of the characters on This Is Us suffers from devastating mental health issues. Despite seeming together on the outside, Randall suffers from crippling anxiety. Meanwhile, Toby, although coming across as the comedian of the group, is prone to severe depression. At different times in the series, both men are paralyzed by these mental illnesses. The show could have taken the opportunity to shed light on the struggle of people with mental health issues. Instead, in both cases, the series opted to wring all of the drama they could out of the situation and then forget about it. When Randall has an anxiety-induced breakdown on the opening night of Kevin's play, it's used mostly as a vehicle to demonstrate that Kevin can be a good guy. He's the only one who realizes what's going on with his brother and then goes to him without hesitation. But after that, we never see Randall going through treatment or taking medication. He just bounces back as if nothing happened. As for Toby, when he and Kate were trying to get pregnant, he decided to flush his antidepressants because they might negatively impact their chances. But Toby has been suicidally depressed in the past, and he should have known better. After going into a deep depression, like Randall, Toby comes back from the brink as soon as he starts his antidepressants back up. Of course, these storylines are dramatic and involving, but what they don't do is truly capture the struggle of people everywhere dealing with mental illness. We have one last observation to share about the Pearson family, and this one is about Jack and Rebecca's relationship. These two are often the couple that we all wish we could be one half of. Between the swoony romantic gestures and their complete dedication to each other and their family, they put many marriages to shame. While the show has played up how great Rebecca and Jack are together though, there are a whole lot of reasons that isn't really true. One of the biggest problems they come up against is Jack's drinking problem. In fact, it almost splits them up. Until Rebecca decides it won't, Jack's alcoholism is the hardest thing they go through as a couple. If that weren't enough, Jack isn't especially supportive of Rebecca's dream of being a singer. When she goes on tour, instead of trusting his wife, Jack becomes jealous of her bandmate, gets drunk, and makes a fool of himself at one of her shows. However, one of the most insidious problems with Jack and Rebecca's marriage might actually be the one that's come up most in Season 3. Jack's inability to communicate about what happened in Vietnam and Rebecca's lack of interest in getting him to discuss it. This led the whole family to believe Jack's brother Nicky died in the war when he's actually been alive this whole time. Jack and Rebecca may be great at the grand gestures and saying all the right things, but their relationship is actually a lot shakier than the show or we fans want to believe. Finally, perhaps the weirdest thing about this show is just how manipulative it is. Well, we know, this is TV, there's a lot of that. But as This Is Us has gone on, its dedication to its formula often prevents it from unfolding organically. Instead, to keep us tearing up and wondering about the next Pearson family mystery, the show starts and stops storylines at random, gets characters into situations that don't seem realistic for them, and replaces storylines from past seasons for maximum dramatic effect. This has been especially true during the series' 3rd season. All season, the show was teasing the big revelation of what happened to Jack's brother in Vietnam. We had no reason to doubt that Nicky perished during the war until a big mid-season twist revealed that Nicky was alive. Now it looks like the show is setting Nicky up to be the second coming of Randall's biological dad, William. William's storyline was one of the highlights of the show so far. His story was moving, and it was touching to see Randall get to know his long-lost father. Between the twists and the long-lost relatives, This Is Us is starting to feel a little gimmicky. The writers should know we'd love the Pearsons even if they didn't have any more long-lost relatives. That's it for our list of weird things about This Is Us. Next time you grab your tissues and tune in for the show's latest episode, you'll be armed with a new perspective, but hopefully no less appreciation for the Pearson family. Are there other questionable things about This Is Us that we missed? Are some of these things a bigger deal to you than others? Weigh in the comments below. Thanks for watching.